I thought I'd share a little video with you folks. This is El Quattro set up on the EQ6R Skywatcher equatorial mount. Basically, I've got it rigged with the old REV2 system, and it comes to focus pretty good, although I've been using it for nearby studies just to get it all set up. And the display on the back, wider scope of course, CCD imager, within which is a field flattener, fine-tuning focus adjustment, course adjustment, lens cap, handset for setting up both the location and setting up basic modeling parameters, which is very complicated on this compared to the Gemini 2, but still can be done. It has to be done every time you set up the scope. It does not store the values. You have to know where you're at in terms of longitude and latitude and your time stamp. And the reason why you might be concerned about all that is, oh yes, of course, you also have to have a power supply, because you would be going out and doing remote astro viewing with potential for doing some imaging of the screen if you wanted handheld, but mostly just to replace the eyepiece, expanding the aperture of the scope 3 times over so it becomes something more like an 18-inch scope rather than a 6, which would then give you the ability to detect faint galaxies to about magnitude 15 somewhere, and the most distant would be between 500 million and 750 million light years distant. I've also got, oh by the way, I've got a deep sky filter in there, anti-light pollution filter. So this would be the setup. I'd have to break it all down, put it into its various cases, transport it, and then I could go wherever I like and I could do deep astro without the use of an eyepiece. I'd probably bring some eyepieces along anyway, especially if you wanted to view some planets and the moon, possibly double stars, through the eyepiece and the brighter Messier class studies, which is what a 6-inch telescope is decent for. Anything that's Messier, you should get a fairly good, decent view, especially if you have a deep, dark night, which is where you would take a scope that's portable. For instance, Crater Lake, 6,000 feet up, overlooking the lake below, but at 6,000 feet altitude on a nice, pristine night with no clouds, you'd see stars to magnitude 6.0 with your unaided eye. That means this scope would image stars down to about 13.5 at the eyepiece at 150x, or galaxies potentially as faint as magnitude 16. Well, there's our little overview. Harpe knocked him. Okay, the time is now 9:48 on the 1st of August 2025. This is our first image of the evening. I have set up the El Quattro scope 150 fast Newt f4 using the REV2 system the way I used to set up this 150 ED before this year advented, and I put the ZWO imaging system on both telescopes. This is our view of Messier 27. The sky's still got some color in it. I had to do a 3-star alignment, which was very challenging picking out stars because I'm under the awning. And so that basically meant I think I got Alpha Cas, Alpha Aquilae, and Alpha Ursa Majoris were my 3 alignment stars. And so this is the first view of the evening. I am using the maximum settings pretty much the same way I would be using maximum settings, up to 30 seconds exposure time with the ZWO. I'm doing 5-second exposure time. We're looking, of course, at the dumbbell. We're not getting a particularly good view. The sky has yet to darken up, but I will come back in about 15 minutes and we will have another look after I adjust the screen and things to get the flattest possible view. Using the handheld camera, the image is not quite as good as if I just looked at the screen by eye, because my eyes can adapt to it much more readily. I'll have to play with the camera too to see if I can't flatten out the image quality a little bit, can see how things tend to disappear as I move the camera around in my hand. But remember, as I advented today on the Golden Phoenix Published channel, basically what I'm doing is setting this scope up so it can be a portable deep sky scope. Since it's only 6 inches in aperture, it behooves me to go ahead and use the REV2 system in order to get deeper views. The view we're getting right now of the dumbbell is far superior to anything you'd get through the eyepiece. We are operating at about 75x. We have a limited field on the REV2 and a limited resolution, about 2 arc seconds resolution, and the field of view is probably 20 by 15 arc minutes. So there's my intro, and I will include the video I did earlier on setting up the scope. The biggest amount of time I had tonight was about spending about an hour just getting a 3-star alignment done, having to deal with the fact that I have an awning over my head and a garage building blocking my view. So there's our first look. It's centered up quite nicely. Thank you. Well, I did play with the settings a little bit on the screen. I boosted the brightness and dropped the contrast down a little bit. What you're looking at now is Messier 81, not a particularly good view. But as far as I'm looking at the sky with my unaided eye, and there's plenty of light pollution. There's lots of light coming out of the local fairgrounds because there's a rodeo event that occurred today. There's also light coming off street lamps. I do have a deep sky filter on it, but the transparency isn't particularly good, and I'm noticing quite a bit of clouds, high thin clouds. So the view we're getting now, and these are the highest possible settings on the Revolution 2 system, is not particularly good. We should be seeing spiral structure in the arms of Messier 81, and we're not. Let's go have a look at Messier 82 next. Okay, the view I'm getting of higher contrast Messier 82 is much better than Messier 81 or edge-on presentation. I'm noticing that I can flatten out the image distribution of light across the screen if I do drop the handheld camera down, but the contrast gets better if I just basically put, as I've learned earlier from using the REV2 system, if I just put the dark band just below whatever I am hoping to feature in terms of a study. This is a pretty decent view of Messier 82. I might go back to, I can't go back to the dumbbell because it's now being blocked by the awning projecting off our garage. So I can go back to Messier 81, and we'll see in a few minutes, but let's see if I can turn something else up. Unfortunately, I cannot turn up the Ring Nebula, can't turn up Messier 13, all of them are being blocked. I just set the scope up today just so I could basically get a few initial views and get everything set. If the sky were better, I would have behooved myself if I had set it up somewhere on the lawn where I get better view of the sky as a whole, but I kind of like the idea of having a perfectly flat cement floor to set the scope up on. Anyway, this is all exploratory. I hope you appreciate the limited views we're getting compared to what we would get through the ZWO system on this same telescope. Here we're having a view. I'm going to just try to go back and zoom in on it, I think, instead of staying close, of 52 Cygni and what should be the Witch's Broom Nebula. I'm only using, like I said, a dark sky filter, a Lumicon deep sky filter. We're not really bringing out any of the Witch's Broom, the Veil complex to the west. So what I'm going to do now, the brightest part of the I think it's 6995. I'll go ahead and have a look at that. I'm kind of disappointed in the views tonight, but the sky is terrible because they've got the lights on over at the local fairgrounds. So anyway, standing back a little bit does seem to help bring the contrast up a little bit. I could stand even further away and zoom in even more, and now the screen is really flattening up. The stars look out of focus to my eye, however. I'm Not sure about what's causing that. Could just be the camera's inability to stabilize its focus. I come in, now we got a dark bar, we're kind of losing much of the screen. So some play has to be done there. Alright, now we're looking at the field of view of NGC 6995. I think it's the Eastern Veil Complex, but I'm only doing this from memory. I'm not sure if there's any real data available whatsoever in the database associated with the EQ6R Pro. I haven't explored it enough yet. It certainly isn't quite as intuitive an interface as the Gemini 2 is. I'm not seeing much in the way of any nebulosity of the supernova remnant that blew up about 15,000 years ago. So anyway, let's push on to at least recognize the star field associated with the Crescent Nebula, NGC 6888, if we can turn that up. Well, what you're seeing here is basically artifacts. This is the underside of the roof awning of the garage. 6888 approaching culmination, so we're not getting any kind of a view of it. I am not going to pursue any further studies. This was all meant to be exploratory tonight, just to see how the scope performed. Let's go back and have a look at Messier 82 one more time as our Carpe Noctem. I'm sorry, M81 and M82 as our Carpe Noctem views. Okay, here's a view of Messier 82. I did come up with an idea for a galaxy for us to look at, Polarisma Borealis 3172. It's a 14.9 magnitude galaxy. Let's go have a look at that as well as Messier 81. Okay, to be clear, I am operating at 5-second exposure times at 44.8 decibels of auto gain control. I rarely ever did any imaging at the highest settings of the REV2 system in the past. It'll probably take at least a minute and a half to get a decent view using these exposure settings, which is why I typically use the lesser values. All we're seeing at this point is the core and the core region of Messier 81. It will probably take at least another minute before we'll get the full formulation. So I'll break until then, and then we'll look at 3172, Polarisma Borealis, as our final viewing of the evening. It turns out the sky is really starting to degenerate with high thin clouds. We also have approaching a 7-day moon. Conditions aren't particularly good. We can go ahead and swing the scope towards a 3172, but I doubt we'll have any view of it whatsoever.